By the way, buddy, I finally found...
So the version I heard is actually...
Hush. I finally found the video where you quote Carl Jung. So I've been looking for that one. I knew you had. I remembered you quoting him, but I didn't remember which episode it was. So that's good. So now I can add it into the larger video, the Western cult video. So for those of you who are not Ze Frank or a member of his little secret society coven network, all of these people seem to have they have a real hard-on for Carl Jung, who's the noted psychiatrist. He's in the Library of Congress because idiots like Ze Frank continue to quote him. All of my suspects so far, pretty much all of my suspects have quoted or made some kind of reference to Carl Jung in their content, in their media, in their artwork, one way or the other. So Michael Paul Maxwell, I've made videos about him. I believe I had something on, I really have to catch up with Vampire Weekend. I got to catch up on putting together stuff for them. Right, Chris? Anyway, so the little, let's see if, is it queued up?
Very, very close to it, but a little different.
No, I don't want to, like, play around.
Of the entire thing. And
waiting for him to, oh, yeah, here. Somewhere, like, right here, where he's looking downward because he's reading it.
A sapling planted beside a supportive stake that the gardener neglects to remove will grow around the stake. The stake's presence will injure the growing tree. The tree will adapt by distorting its natural shape to accommodate the stake. But the mature tree will be the shape it has taken. It cannot be cured of the injury. The injury is an intrinsic aspect of its nature. So the version
So that is the Carl Jung quote that he's saying. So of course it does have a few meanings and ways that you can interpret it. One way that you should consider, because remember I have been talking about how this cult, this network, this coven, it seems to be a bunch of interconnected families that Ze Frank and his family appear to be a part of, members of, and it's also connected with Freemasons and such. I'm not blaming all Freemasons, but these people seem to be an inner circle within Freemasonry and Shriners and Ordo Templi Orientis. And it looks to me like they practice child abuse, incest, adults having sex with children, basically. So in esoteric symbolism, the tree is quite often compared to the human body, and quite often, more typically than not, with the female body. But either way, it's used to represent the human body often. A sapling then would be, so I'll show you guys that, by the way. I pulled some stuff up. Here we go. And remember, I've been accusing the Ze Frank of, they worship certain occulted symbols like the Abrasics. And Carl Jung wrote extensively about the Abrasics, and he also, and Ze Frank just quoted him. And he also references the Abrasics as well. He has never, as far as I can tell, he's never said the word Abrasics in any of his content, but he references it in other clever, veiled ways. So you can see here, in lots of images, artwork, mythology, the trees are used to symbolize, they're associated with the human body, more often than not, the female body, but in general, the human body. A sapling would be a young person, a young human body, or a young girl. A stake, because like hearkening back to the Carl Jung quote that Zay Frank just spoke, a stake would obviously be a phallic symbol. So it should give whole new meaning to the idea of forcing the sapling to mold to the stake. Like wounding the sapling with the stake, but it kind of forces the sapling to mold itself to the wound in a way. So I do think that's one of the layered meanings, is it ties right in with even just the Christian imagery. So Jesus on the cross. For those of you who don't know, the cross is a phallic symbol. It was a phallic symbol long before Christianity. It was associated with Shiva, the Hindu god, long before the name Jesus was ever uttered. The cross was the symbol of a penis. So keep that in mind every time you see Jesus nailed to it. And Jesus, by the way, I have a lot of reason to believe that Jesus's character was initially a female and later turned into a male. Either way, it's, he's nailed to the cross. He was harmed with the cross. The cross being phallic, being male testosterone, warring, pain, suffering, force, which also goes along with, here, I will show you, Abrasax. The Abrasax, this occult symbol, remember, that Carl Jung wrote about extensively. And that it's an occulted symbol, it's a Gnostic deity. Right here, you can see this whip rod that it holds in many of the pictures. These are all depictions of it. And it's usually holding a rod or whip of some sort. That represents force. Quite often pain, suffering, force. I will mold you. I will force you. I will whip you into shape. I will, it's this idea of these people, I think, in many ways represent they like to think they represent the hardships in life, the harshness in life. Again, it's Bane from Batman saying, I am necessary evil. They think that they are the necessary bad guys. They do the horrible, evil things like raping children. And they think that it's necessary for them to do this to mold humanity, to mold the soul. It has something to do, I believe, with molding the soul, metamorphosis of the soul. A lot of their belief system seems to have to do with metamorphosis, hence the butterfly symbol as well, caterpillar and butterfly symbol, chrysalis symbols, so on and so forth. So a lot of this all ties in together, guys. And yes, I do believe Carl Jung was a part of this cult. As I've said, it seems to be interconnected with several families, at least, and a lot of a lot of celebrities, a lot of people who are world-renowned, well-known for one thing or another, not necessarily for acting, although they are all actors and actresses in their own way. And so even here, you can see a lot of the symbolism and stuff actually being represented in this movie, Jupiter Ascending. The family, for anybody who's seen this movie, there is a celestial family that basically grows crops of human beings to be harvested for their DNA because they use the DNA to live forever. And the family that basically owned whole planets of people were called the Abrasax family. And a lot of the symbolism, you can break down a lot of symbols. Even just like, the headdress she's wearing, that's symbolic. The flame she's holding, that's symbolic. A lot of the color choices, the color coding in this movie symbolic. It's all the fact that she has 3 children, 2 of them are boys and 1 is a girl. Symbolic. The fact that, this woman, this was the mother of the family, the matriarch. Her name was Seraphim or something along those lines. Seraphi. Symbolic. Seraphi, Seraphim, Seraph. Angels. There was a kind of angel. You really need to dig deeper, guys, because this is all interconnected. And just to show you, this Abraxas, this is over 1,000 years old. Was worshipped back in ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. And just to show you guys also, Carl Jung, Abraxas. Carl Jung considered Abraxas or Brassix, it's spelled either way, to be a Gnostic god and the god above gods. It's basically the devil. They consider it to be, so I think the ones who worship it, they consider it to be above the devil. They consider it to be above God and the devil. It's like an amalgamation of both. But it's not. It's the devil. It's a sun deity. And I won't get into it. It's just, it's bad. It's bringing together 2 opposites. I won't get into it any more than this, but I've already said this. There's more to be said about it, but it's a deity that represents the bringing together of 2 opposites to make magic. And it embodies 2 opposites, which means one of the things it embodies is pure evil. And things like raping children, your own children, torture. Yeah, stuff like that. Ew, no. So if you're worshiping this creature, that's part of what you're worshiping. Anyway, and I have to wonder how much some of these people understand that. I'm sure many of them do understand it, but I have to wonder if, when they're first starting out, first getting conscripted into this little cult, if they fully are aware of that. Or if they get sucked in and then they're not made aware of it, of what they're doing and worshiping until they're already sucked into it. But yeah. Anyway, I'm just making kind of more like a little reminder to myself. I need to put this little video clip into. I've got this like collection of different videos to be analyzed.
So the version I heard is actually very, very
So I need to put this clip of him reading the Carl Jung quote into my presentation because, again, as far as I've seen, a lot of my suspects who I believe are members of this cult, a lot of them have referenced Carl Jung. They are in love with Carl Jung, and I do think that Carl Jung was a member of this network when he was alive, because it seems to date back at least several generations. So there's a good chance that this network has been around since the Abraxas deity was worshipped, right? There were likely cults developed, formed, worshiping this deity back, over 1,000 years ago in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. So I don't think it's a huge stretch to think that some of those cults might have survived underground, quote unquote underground, so to speak. And that they pass sort of a secret belief system down amongst their families generation to generation, where they secretly worship this deity and secretly practice incest. Yeah. And pretend to be good people on the surface in public. So I'll end it there.